Usually it was filled to the brim with candy. She had a serious candy habit. So she'd go to the convenience store, load up on all kinds of junk, and then carry her money and whatever else with her in her candy bag. Yeah, okay. She probably had a ding-a-ling in that bag too, Faith.
I don't hear nobody out there. Hold it down.
I be looking all disheveled on camera because Saturday be my day off and I like to just lounge around on Saturday. You know, I'm in the medical field. So if any of you in the medical field, you know that motherfucker wears you out and you always seize the day that you can just lay around and be lazy. Okay, but you know I enjoy giving you the books because I know that you all enjoy receiving these books. So forgive me if I'm not always on camera or looking my best on camera. I can't remember the last time I got dressed up to get in front of the goddamn camera. Hell, it had to be right when I started working, and that's been months ago. Let's get to, what is this? Faith Evans. Keep the faith. Once we'd both left the apartment in Brooklyn and set up our own separate households, I was only in touch with Big very sporadically. A few times when I was staying with 112, he was able to reach me on the phone. I always kept the conversation as brief as I could. But of course, we were still married and had business and personal affairs to take care of. I called him once at the house in Teaneck, and a woman answered the phone. "Can I speak to Big?" I asked. "He's not here. Who is this?" "Tell him to call his wife." After calling another time and hearing the same voice, I assumed it was that girl Tiffany from Philly. I'd heard she was often at the house. A few months before, I would have been looking to kick her ass, but I had no intentions now of crossing paths with Tiffany. I was done with beating up the women whom Big was messing with, except for Little Kim. As far as I was concerned, I still had some shit to settle with her. Ooh, I get it. And you know how some ladies in a comment be like, "I don't understand. Why Faith wanted to be Kim ass? It was Biggie. Why she not trying to be Big ass?" Because that bitch Kim knew. She knew. She was the one laughing and kicking in my face, going to the gym and shopping with me, knowing all along she was hunching my husband. So she deserved an ass kicking. On the other hand, Faith, you too big to be beating up on that little lady. You were like what, 5'8", 5'9", 5'10"? Kim like 4'11". But hell, like I said, if you're going to be hunching married men, baby, you got to know how to fight. I felt a little stressed after I moved into the apartment on West End Avenue. China and I would go to the studio and come home and be greeted by our doorman, Lucius, an older gentleman who was always friendly. I finally had my own place that was safe and quiet, and my main goal was to keep the money flowing in. I did all the promotional tour dates that Bad Boy and Eartha set up for me. And I did the paid tour dates that Cheryl was able to secure for me as well. During a performance at a small dinner theater venue, I saw a tall, dark, chocolate man with clear skin and a wide, bright smile come in and sit at the table very close to the stage. He looked familiar. I was almost sure that I'd seen him at my shows the last 2 times I'd been in the area. But something about this guy stood out. He was really tall for one thing, and he usually came alone. While most of my fans would come with a date or in a large group, he was handsome and regal. And as I sang, I kept finding myself looking at him and then trying to look away. He definitely had my attention and planned to keep it. Toward the end of the show, I looked in his direction, and he held up his wine glass to me as if he was making a toast. I felt myself turning red from the attention as I said goodnight to the audience, and the show ended. After the show, I sat backstage, relaxing with Cheryl and my 3 background singers. One of my singers, a guy named Chuck, was a former basketball player. Pause in the draws. Oh no. I've heard of former basketball players doing a lot of things after their career is over. But singing background, I ain't never heard that shit before. Chuck, who was that guy near the front of the stage, I asked. You mean the one that was staring at you? Everyone laughed. I tried to keep a straight face. I didn't notice all that. Do you know who he is or not? Chuck got up and walked over closer to me. Everybody knows him, Faith, he said in a loud whisper. That's Roger Short. Why does everybody know him, I asked. Because he's in the NBA. He's from this area, but he plays for a team in the Midwest. I just nodded and tried to look non-committal, but I was intrigued. He was handsome, and every time I caught his eye, something stirred in me that I hadn't felt in a very long time. Oh, that's the butterflies in your pussy. I was married, but I was also feeling very resentful about Big and his ex. He was screwing anything that moved, including Lil' Kim, a chick he had me befriend. He was blatant in his deception and infidelity and showed no signs of slowing down. And I was supposed to just take that and remain loyal and faithful? No. The next night, I had my final engagement at the nightclub. And sure enough, as soon as the house lights went down, I saw Roger coming through a side entrance. Someone escorted him to a table right near the stage and brought him a glass of wine. He was wearing a sharp navy blue suit that fit him so well. It had to be custom made. He stretched out his legs and crossed them at the ankles and then looked up at me and flashed that dazzling smile again. Oh, child, if I wasn't a married woman. Being a YouTuber affords you opportunities to meet certain people. And honey, when that NBA player wanted to meet some of Nene, this was when I was not married. Okay, this was in one of those spells that me and my wife was on a break. She was down here in Atlanta with some bitch she really ain't want. Okay, and I was still up north. Honey, when that NBA player wanted some of me, child, and let me tell you something. Girl. It was amazing to me that he just wanted to meet me. I guess because he just wanted to see if I was who I was in person. People are always shocked when they find out I am. The heady mix of performing, a few pre-show glasses of champagne, and the attention I received during the show from Roger made me feel extra bold. When the show was over and we were backstage, I wrote down the name of my hotel and the room number on a small slip of paper and gave it to Chuck. Trickery. Don't let that name Roger Short fool you, cause my ass went to the Google Roger Short. Ain't that Roger Short associated with the NBA. So then I Googled NBA player Faith hunched on while married to Biggie Smalls. Child, it's a whole bunch of speculation out there. That goddamn face tricked us. No, I said. Give it to him before he leaves. Chuck's eyes grew wide as he took the paper out of my hand. Are you serious? Go. Within an hour, there was a knock on my hotel door. I stopped by the mirror in the hallway before I answered it. I looked relaxed and fresh scrubbed. I tucked my hair behind my ears, rubbed a little lip gloss on my lips, and took a deep breath. Hi, Roger, I said. It took you long enough to invite me over, he said with a smile. He came in and I poured us both a drink. We sat on a sofa and made small talk about where he was from and how long he'd been in the NBA. The first time I heard your voice on the radio, I knew I had to see you perform, he said. Really? Yeah, I've been checking out your live shows for a while. And now that you've met me in person, Roger gave me a shy smile. I guess I'd like to get to know you better. I leaned in close to Roger and kissed him. He smelled really good, and I couldn't resist. I think he was probably shocked at how forward I was, but I knew what I wanted, and I wasn't going to waste any time. Good for you, Faith. Good for you. Keep this in mind now. It's NBA players lining up every day to fuck a rapper's baby mama. Keep that in mind. Now, I ain't one to get all into the details about what goes down in between my sheets. I'll just say this. Roger and I had a great time that night. It was impulsive, and that just added to the whole experience. He was a careful and attentive lover, and that morning I felt relaxed and refreshed. And yes, I did feel guilty. I was married, which meant what I'd done with Roger was a sin. I knew that ultimately just because Big was doing wrong didn't mean that I had the right to do the same. And yet the night with Roger felt like it took years off my life. And at the time, I only regretted it for a second. My good friend Rufus came over to visit me. Rufus and I had met years before, back when I was working with I'll Be Sure. He was a singer and songwriter who would often work in the same studio on different projects. Now, Faith, you know I don't normally do this, but I met this songwriter who is dying to meet you. Really? I asked. Who is it? Her name is Missy. Child. Wait a minute now, Faith. Wait a minute, girl. What the hell's happening between that? Girl! You know, Missy don't work with you unless you giving up the pussy, Faith. Is it going to be anything in this book about bisexuality? Because Missy don't work with nobody she can't fuck. Just like the prince. Or no female he can't fuck. Now, I don't know about the males. Ain't nobody ever come out, no male ever came out and said Nathan. But you know, Prince, if it's got a pussy, if he can't fuck it, he ain't working with it. A few weeks later, Rufus brought Melissa, Missy, Elliot by my apartment to meet me. Yo, your album is crazy, she told me during our first conversation. Thank you so much, I told her. At the time, Missy was trying to make a name for herself in the music industry. In the early 90s, she'd worked on Jodeci's album. She was a member of a collective called Swing Mob that included Genuine and Timberlake. She'd also been a member of a short-lived girl group called Sister that never released an album. Missy always had her hair styled in finger waves, and her wardrobe was mainly nylon tracksuits and matching sneakers. I'll never forget that she always carried a brown paper bag with her instead of a purse. That's because she bumping purses. She don't need no purse. Because she bumping purses and losing change. Usually it was filled to the brim with candy. She had a serious candy habit. So she'd go to the convenience store, load up on all kinds of junk, and then carry her money and whatever else with her in her candy bag. Yeah, okay. She probably had a ding-a-ling in that bag too, Faith. I liked Missy. She was bubbly and energetic, and she made me laugh. And she also had a certain amount of hustle that I respected. Just the year before, I'd been much like her, writing music for other people and trying to navigate the music industry. So I liked the idea of being able to give her an encouraging word or two about the business. A new phase of my life started to take form. Missy started to come over regularly, hanging out with me, Rufus, Cheryl, and China. I was still going out on paid tour dates, and I loved my new apartment. I did feel very disconnected from my label mates. Now I was cool with everyone, And when we did see each other, it was all love. But I just had a different agenda. Puff was out on tour with the rest of the acts on the label, and I knew he was pissed that I wasn't there. But I was doing what I felt was best for me. And at that point, I was not about to be on tour with my husband, whom I wasn't speaking to, and two of his girlfriends. Two of his girlfriends. Charlie Baltimore was on that tour? Okay, let me move forward. I heard through the grapevine that there was a lot of drama on that tour. KC, who was performing with Jodeci, was supposedly getting into physical altercations with Mary J. Blige. Child, that wasn't a lie. Girl, the rumors was true, girl. I heard Big and Kim got into some kind of fight on a tour bus. I was just grateful that I wasn't dealing with any of that mess. I was on my own, in charge of my own schedule and my own money and my own plan. It was fall of 1995. My entire entry into the recording industry had become so summed up by my relationship with Big. I was ready to do things on my own and make a name for myself. At the same time that I was making these major changes, Tupac Shakur was making some major changes as well.
Hey, do my favorite go-go song. Taking a ride on the east side, made a left on MLK. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful day. Riding high on the west side, looking for a hood rat to play. Won't you come out and play? Won't you come out and play? Hey, taking a ride. Hey, hey, on the south side. Ooh, ooh. Hey, hey, hey. We like that, good.